Hey, welcome back, everyone. Oh my gosh, I've got to work out how to fade the music, but anyway, it just drops out there. There you go. So welcome back, everyone, to another Toolbox Tech Talk here, Sunday, coming live to you from the Smart Energy Lab in very windy Mount Toolibawong in the Yarra Valley near Melbourne. So you probably hear a few gusts and rattles and the odd bang on the roof as a branch falls onto my studio, but I'm still here, so don't worry too much. It hasn't fallen down after 40 years. So yeah, it should be all okay. So I guess some of you might have seen the chat that Mark Kavanagh and I had last week. Look, really appreciate both Mark and lovely feedback we had. It seems like people appreciate two people with different opinions who could be civil and reasoned about their differences. So, yeah, thanks to Mark for braving being on, and thanks to all the audience for their lovely comments. It was really quite overwhelming, and yeah, that one's really gone viral. Amazing. So yeah, today I've got another guest. Now, my guest today is someone who's been in the solar and battery industry a long time. It's Alex Yates from Wise Energy, and I'll just bring Alex on. G'day, Alex.
Hey Glenn, how you going?
I'm good. What's the weather like in Wollongong?
Good. It's good today. It's been the first nice day we've had in some time.
Cool. Well, I wish you could send it down here. We really need some sun because little old Smart Energy Labs are a fully off-grid site, and this is a bit of a challenge this time of year.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, you've just sort of gone past the winter solstice, so the worst part of the year for solar.
Yep. I keep looking forward to those longer days, but It's still getting colder. So I've got the fire going here in the studio. It's about 8 degrees outside and about 22 inside, so not too bad.
Very good.
So for my audience who may not know about Wise Energy and yourself, tell us a bit about yourself.
So it's my business. I started in about 2009 when I became an electrical contractor, and over the years, we sort of acquired other businesses and ended up being a sheet metal facility, if you will, as well. So we're a renewable business, but we do all our own sheet metal, powder coating, folding, welding, everything in the same facility. It's something I've been passionate about for a long time, and that was one of the reasons I reached out to you, was about my concern for waste and how LFP looks in the long term.
Yeah, tell me a bit about your concern for waste. Waste of what?
My concern's primarily about the all-in-one system. So I think of the system where the inverter and the battery and everything's integrated together. And I worry that single component failure may lead to system failure, and then in turn, what do you do with it after that?
Right. Yeah. So it's a bit like a car with bespoke wheels that only wheels from brand X will fit on car X.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern. So we bought one a little while ago, and admittedly we bought it because it was very cost effective, and we wanted to try it and see how it panned out. And it wasn't a good experience. It really didn't work for us. And similarly, I've had experiences with, say, Tesla Powerwalls, where I've installed them, and they've actually been a great install, and the customer's happy with it long term. But my concern is the newer ones entering the market, such as, the SIG Energy, the Chellian, or all of the units where they're integrated together. And then if that business is going to be around, hopefully for the consumer they will be. But even then, I'm a fan of the like Bradley was saying in your previous interview, the DC-centric system where your battery modules are agnostic to your inverter and your other equipment. And so you've got some ability to replace components.
I can see behind you, similar to me, a bunch of blue boxes.
Yeah.
The well-known Victron. So that's a brand that you like using?
Yeah, we're a Victron distributor. I've been a big supporter of the blue stuff for a long time, and I really like it. And we're also a warranty repair agent for them, which is really handy because it means when something goes wrong, we've got all the spare parts. But again, that's pretty unusual. They're fairly reliable in all cases.
Right. So would you describe yourself as fairly 48 volt centric in terms of the products that you build?
Anything up to about 50 kilowatts, I'd say we're 51.2 volt. After that, we tend to move to high voltage. So we've got some projects at the moment which are a little over half a megawatt, and they'll be high voltage units.
Wow. Okay. So you do big stuff as well, not just the residential.
Yeah, for sure. So residential's our bread and butter, and predominantly off-grid has been for the past 5 or 10 years. But larger stuff, it's becoming more and more common, particularly where the grid may not be strong enough to support the customer's needs. Like they may have a 63 amp supply and they might need 100 or 150, and augmenting it with solar and batteries is sometimes cheaper than upgrading the transformer, and the customer gets the benefit of reducing their consumption.
Yeah, I've had a few of those customers. I often say that an off-grid system can compete with a network upgrade when you're in rural areas.
Yeah, for sure.
So what makes Wise batteries different from others on the market?
So our battery brand is SafeBatt, and where it came from was what we do is we raise, so particularly in the 12.8 volt stuff, we raise the low voltage cutoff higher than 2.5 volts a cell, and we try and only charge to 3.55 a cell to extend the life of the actual battery. And also cutting off a bit earlier on the low side means if let's say you've got a caravan and you park it away for 6 months and you send the battery flat, you don't lose it in self-discharge. And the other big thing is that they're a managed battery, but they're not, it's not mandatory. So kind of taking the best parts of every battery. So originally I was a big fan of BYDs and I loved the comms, but what I didn't like is if you lost the comms, the system would shut down. And then for some time after that, I was a big fan of Power Plus because I liked Bradley's concept of unmanaged and being a lead acid replacement. And then I went off the idea of cylindrical cells for a few different reasons and went to prismatic. And at that point, I wanted to find a pathway where we could have the battery, where we could get all the CAN bus data and we could, harness that, but also the battery could work happily unmanaged. So what makes it special is that it's managed and it's unmanaged. So it'll run happily without comms and be perfectly safe, or it will run with comms. And the same with our 12.8 volt stuff, we have comms in it as well, and we also have fire suppression as a little bit of an extra.
Oh wow, that's pretty interesting. In a 12.8 volt battery, you've got fire suppression.
Yeah.
Cool. So maybe just a little explainer for my audience. The term managed and self-managed or unmanaged, you do both in the same product. So you've got the ability to basically talk to the battery from the inverter and control its charge rate, etc., to suit the battery. But you've also got the ability, if the comms aren't there or they fail, the battery still works, but it works as a self-protecting device. It's got its own BMS. It still will protect itself from undervoltage and overvoltage.
Correct.
And the fire suppression, what form is that?
So what it is, there's a few different types. Out of interest for you, Glenn, someone just sent me a message and said this hasn't started on YouTube yet. You might be having some YouTube problems.
Jump over to LinkedIn or my Facebook. It's streaming live there. But don't worry, I'll upload it to YouTube straight after we finish. Yeah, it's really hard to get all the streams to start at the same time. But don't worry, it's going live to a lot of people right now. But LinkedIn or Facebook, and even X if you're into X.
Okay. So what it looks like is in a small battery, it's a small, it almost looks like a mat. And what it does is it reacts to heat at about 120 degrees and releases fluorohexanone from memory, and it suppresses a fire. So my experience with LFP is I've tried really, really seriously to damage them. So I've overcharged cells to twice their voltage. I've short-circuited them. I've done everything you can imagine. And from what I've found, it's not the cell itself that tends to be what's going to create a fire. It might be something surrounding it. So a circuit breaker or a hot joint in a cable. a poorly crimped lug, a broken weld, something like that. And so for me, the idea behind the fire suppression is, if there is some excess heat, it'll probably start something like the ABS case or the wires burning, and it'll extinguish it. And then in a larger battery, it's more of like a canister cartridge kind of thing.
Right, like aerosol based fire suppression.
Yeah, you've got it. And then in bigger batteries, again, it's plumbed into the battery module itself, and it's a big tank.
Right, well, hence the name SafeBatt. You really thought about it. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so it wasn't in the early ones. It came out in the later models, and it was also a bit of a pioneering effort for us. The early SafeBatts were Australian manufactured as well, which was a really big challenge and hurdle to get through, and we got there.
Oh, cool. So you're using a lithium ferrophosphate as your chemistry, is that correct?
Yeah, everything's lithium ferrophosphate. Everything's laser welded, so a bit of intentional product placement behind me there is showing some cells laser welded.
Oh, right. So you don't have little links bolted together. You actually laser weld the cells together in the prismatics. Yeah,
so they're laser welded together, which reduces the contact resistance a little bit. So better for cell balancing. Different cells in different batteries. The cells in the 51.2 behind me are made in Shandong in China. And they're a 6,000 cycle cell to 0% depth of discharge, 70% of their original lifespan. So the company that makes them is called Yuhuan, and they make some pretty special cells. They go up to, I think, 14 or even 30 C for UPSs.
What? 13 C? Wow.
No, 30, yeah. So the idea is that in a UPS or a data center, you've got this 5 or 10 minute window if you've got a blackout when a generator starts and warms up. And so the battery just gets smashed for 5 or 10 minutes while the generator kicks in, and then it goes for a slow charge again and charges back up.
I guess that's why your interconnects have to be so low resistance. So if you're going to get high C rates, you don't want any unnecessary resistance in the circuit. Yeah,
that's right. The other thing is when you were talking about our batteries before, is all of our batteries now are 1C, which in a 300 amp battery or a 314 is pretty unusual. So it means you can run a 3 kVA inverter off a single battery.
Wow, a single 30 amp hour battery.
A single 300.
Sorry, 300. I dropped to 0. Yeah. Cool. Now, I had a quick look at your product range, and you've got something called the Ranger 20 system. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah. So it's designed for off-grid, and as the name suggests, it can take 20 kilowatt hours of storage. So it can take 4 51.2s. It runs a Victron multi-RS6. And it's got all your AC, DC distribution built into it, generator auto start, fuel level monitoring, all of those things. So it's a sort of drop on the ground, ready to use kind of solution. And in fact, all of those products that you're showing there are all sheet metal manufactured here.
Right. So you make those cabinets and powder coat them and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got an amazing group of people. Some engineers have moved on to other jobs who helped originally create these. Some are still here. So it's definitely not just me. But yeah, we do every single part of that. And so a lot of it is built with a lot of thought in mind. So that all of them have like a stiffening kind of top hat we weld in. Before it gets welded in, there's insulation in it. So there's some indirect protection there to try and help manage heat. We do some technical management of heat. Some of them we program if the cells drop below a certain temperature to stop the fans. So then the inverter's heating them, like with a bit of passive, lost energy. And then the larger ones, they're laser cut with about 40 different configurations of inverter and battery configuration, so you can use it for, you can custom build it to what the customer requires.
Right. So the Ranger Series 180 is 3 of the 60s sort of joined together.
You got it. So where the gland plate is on the side, it has sort of like a cable duct that joins them all together.
Wow. And these are IP what?
A 55 tested.
Okay. So you can just plonk them in outside and off you go.
Yeah, and even little things like you can see it more easily on the 20 and the 35 is these little metal fold down, fan covers that protect the plastic fan cover from the sun so the UV doesn't get them. They're really, really built for Australian conditions.
So active cooling, temperature controlled fans.
Yeah. Fire suppression
Nice.
in the later ones.
Cool.
And designed to be easy for the contractor to install.
Yeah, I like the naming system. It's basically how many kilowatt hours you get. But what about the inverters inside? What's the power rating of these?
So the 20 and the 35 has a 6 kVA high frequency inverter. The 60 and the 180 can be up to 45 kVA in the 180, and you can get about probably 30 kVA in the 60. So you can go quite big.
And these are suitable for connecting to a generator?
Yeah, so some have 2 AC inputs, some have 1 AC input, but yeah, natively they've all got generator inputs, they've all got fuel level monitoring, they've all got a nice colour touch screen, which is all part of the Victron ecosystem. So anyone who's familiar with Victron and VRM, it's a nice ecosystem where it all ties everything together. Yeah.
Victron really do a whole range of products that all tie together beautifully. So I'm very familiar with the evolution of the GX series. Acrano being the latest one I've got. Yeah, it's a beautiful product. And it's open source software too. So, for those geeks out there, they can even sort of hack it and do things.
Yeah, it's a really nice platform, and kindly Victron are actually paying me at the moment to get their Quattros on the CEC register. So soon enough, they'll be able to raise the battery rebate.
That's huge news. I get that question probably once a month at least. When is Victron going to be listed on the CEC?
I don't know if how public that knowledge is, but yes, they've got me doing it at the moment, and they just got the 8, 10, and 15 on yesterday.
Okay, so it's true already for some of the models.
Yep.
That's the multis, is it?
Yep.
Yep, and the Quattros possibly soon.
Possibly soon, yeah.
And they'd be under Appendix M, using the grid as a source only.
Yeah, they're under Appendix M for the Multi Plus 2, 3, 5, 8, 10, 15. So as an installer, you've got to be careful to make sure you put all your loads on the output if you want to counteract your loads, because you can't do it out the AC input terminal. But the Quattros will be off-grid only.
Right, gotcha. What about other products apart from the Ranger series? I think you sent me a brochure for one.
So the brochure I sent you is for a product we've built for the cheaper home battery rebate, and basically it'd be anything up to 50 kilowatt hours.
Perfect. So it'll fit right in there with the limit on the cheaper home batteries program, 50 kilowatt hour limit.
Yeah, so what you can't see in the brochure is that tilted down cutout gland plate is the same on both sides. So you've got the opportunity for it to be blue. It can be Victron, and it can have an MPPT or 2 multis in parallel, or whatever you like, or it can be a DA if you choose. It's got some flexibility to it.
So you've got a Doyer in that picture, but that's flexible. It could be a Victron.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's got the opportunity. I went down the DA road pretty heavily. Like I looked at a lot of different inverters, and I just like that it does nameplate. It's got a good application for your phone. It works.
Yeah, and that looks like the three-phase unit, is that right?
Yeah, correct. That's for 10 kilowatt three phase.
Cool. Getting a big gust of wind. So you can scale that up single or three-phase?
Yeah, so it can be sold in a five kilowatt, 8, 10 in single phase, and you can go three phase 10. The limitations, the 250 amp breaker inside of it, which stops us at 10 kVA. But I think that's enough. Even at 50 kilowatt hours, I think 10 kVA is enough.
I'll just scroll up because there's 2 pages to it here. So there's the spec details. The battery modules are your lithium ferrophosphate. Are they like a rack mount battery or?
Yeah, they're a 19-inch rack mount battery. I've actually got the first prototype one. I'd have to walk outside my laptop and I could show you. But the batteries we're using in them presently are a battery that we've used and have been comfortable with at least for 2 or 3 years now, and are a really, really good battery. And then the other one, which we're in the process of getting on the register, I'm very, very confident in as well. So it could be one of 2 different brands, but it'll still have the same usable capacity.
Now you actually do some really big systems. I'm just looking at your website. I'll share it now. So like the Dash series, container scale.
Yep. We've got a couple out in the car park getting ready to leave off to Victoria at the moment.
Wow. Okay. So you can put a couple of 40-footers with a roof between them.
Yep. We've done that. We've done the hybrid main switchboard. So that's your on-grid solution. So up the top left is your standard 100 amp metering panel you use in New South Wales. Batteries are in the bottom section and the inverters are in the top right. And so that's for augmenting the grid. The generator is a battery silence generator. So inverters, batteries, generator. And then I think lower down, you'll see there's a few trailers we do. There's a bunch of different.
Oh, there's your rack mount SafeBatt Pro. Is that the ones you're referring to? Yeah,
correct. Yep.
9-inch rack mount. Oh, nice. Wow, you do a lot of products. I'm just going back up to the containerized ones here. That hybrid, it's a main switchboard as well.
Yeah, so the hybrid main switchboard is developed for that exact commercial application in Australia, where, particularly in the region I live in, which is Endeavour's region, and probably similar to Sydney, 63 amp three phase is your normal standard connection you're allowed to get. If you want more than that, then you typically either are very lucky or you have to pay to install a pad mount transformer. And so when you're staring down the barrel of, $200,000 or $300,000, this suddenly looks very attractive.
Yeah. So I think I started off by saying that, I think this was before we were off camera, that you can actually compete with a network upgrade with a battery and inverter that's paralleling with the grid.
Yeah, correct.
Really good.
The nice part is sometimes on larger systems, what we do is we actually come from the AC onto the DC bus and then back off the DC bus to AC again. And whilst that sounds like it has a little bit of round trip efficiency loss, which it does, probably call it 3 or 4%, locking the voltage at 230 volts and giving the customer a very stable supply seems to yield closer to about a 10% power saving by having that lower voltage. And it also means you can then synchronize in a generator onto the DC bus if you choose. So there's a few different, tricks we can do to try and give the customer a more stable supply too.
Yeah, I like the idea of a DC-centric solution. Like you say, you can bring in lots of sources and loads and use the DC bus as your common highway.
Yeah, well, for Solar Store 50, as an example, I had a customer reach out to me and they'd built years ago 4 or 5 tiny homes, which they rent out, and they're all 12-volt systems with huge, submains running to them to handle the voltage drop. And they were basically asking me how they can, be eligible for cheaper home battery rebate and still be able to run these. And in the case of this, it's very, very simple because we can add a DC to DC straight off a 48 volt bus and, power their 12 volt loads.
Now, I just scrolled down a bit further and I see that you're also doing EV charging, gensets, the wedge. That sounds pretty cool. Tell me about these products.
So the EV charging are great products. They're basically just rectifiers. So they're DC, so starting at 20 kilowatts and finishing at 360. The generator is something we don't make in Australia, but it's something we get made to our specification overseas. The Economax it's been relatively popular. It's your very, very basic off-grid product. The wedge wasn't much of a seller. The wedge has found itself more a home for temporary power for builder supplies, actually, and things like that. So it's a 5 kilowatt inverter, 5 kilowatt hour battery, a kilowatt of solar.
And it's fully self-contained.
Yeah, and it's got a little neat spot for a generator underneath. So its target market was really tiny homes, and as was the Ranger 20. And I think to an extent, the tiny home bubble's kind of bursting at the moment. It doesn't seem to be quite as common anymore. I think
yeah, there's a lot of sort of problems with local councils and approvals to get tiny homes, because we've actually dabbled with them here at the co-op, but because we're in a green wedge, even though you're allowed a second dwelling up to 60 square metres in Victoria, not in a green wedge zone, so it's really only in suburbia.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is LGAs become stricter and things like that happen, it's harder to solve them, I guess.
Oh my gosh, I just keep scrolling down. There's more and more. Is there anything you don't make? Let me bring these ones up. So the power box, is that a portable power station?
Yeah, so that was a portable power station, but again, it's a product that never really took off because of the smaller, cheaper ones that are available out of China. So I know that Jerry, I think, and it's made by the same company as Clenergy, make a neat little one, and we just can't compete. The 400 watt portable solar panel, it's a good product. It sells well. It's in reality 110 watt modules, so when it gets tested, it always overproduces. The trailers, again, good product. And the target market, particularly for the small one, is so it can be picked up with a helicopter. So that was designed for emergency services. So in places where they might have had a flood or something like that, like up in Taree recently, that something like that can be deployed and it gives, mobile phone reception and internet.
Wow, that's really cool. So you can just pick it up with a helicopter. Wow.
Yeah. We had a lot of help designing that actually from the SES. They were really, really good giving us feedback and helping getting it to the stage that it did.
So I can see why your sheet metal business and your electrical have come together. The marriage made in heaven, right?
Yeah, particularly for rapid prototyping when you've got an idea. And some of it, myself and some of my colleagues here, will come up with some crazy idea. It lets us, bring it together very quickly to see if it's possible.
Yeah, this is big 3D printing stuff.
Yeah.
So what's been one of your hardest engineering challenges that you've had to solve?
Probably one of the hardest ones, and I couldn't say truly that I was the one who solved it. It was myself and Brittany Woodgate. She was an amazing engineer who used to work here. And her and I and another colleague called Damien, we came up with this idea called the Smart Energy Hub. And what we did is we deployed one of those Dash 90s at a construction site, and there was about 24 site sheds. And the concept was basically by having a lot of solar and charging the batteries quickly, the customer would get their diesel bill down by about 70%. and it works. But we wanted to try and get the last part of that off the table. So we used presence detection in every building, and then had switching on everything you can imagine, lighting, air conditioning, everything, going back into a is it MQTT or MQQT broker, which we loaded into the GX device. And then it would make decisions about whether people were in the room or not. And it would make predictions about when to turn the lights on and when to turn them off, and air conditioning. And then if the system made an incorrect prediction, you'd have a button you'd press in the room and it would kind of scald it and add some hysteresis into it. So then that way, we were basically just trying to save all that wasted energy in a construction site. It was a very challenging product to roll out, and it works really well. But that was the first GX device I managed to crash. So we overloaded the CPU in the server, and so we had to move to an Acrano to have a bigger CPU.
Wow. I really like your holistic approach to solving that problem. Look at the loads first before you start thinking about generation. So, yeah, really smart.
Yeah, and all of our products now have that feature. So they all integrate with all the Shelly equipment. And so if someone wants a Shelly smart relay on their pool pump and wants to do some load shedding or start at a particular time of day, we can do that. But that's always been my approach. Is it's much easier to not consume it than it is to produce it.
And do you respond to customer feedback? Does that change your products in any way?
Yeah, we respond to customer feedback a lot, and most of our systems are designed to what the customer requires. So normally the initial consultation is the feedback, and then we build from there. Oh,
cool. Right. I mean, that's one of the advantages of a do-it-all solution like you have here at Wise Energy is you don't have to go back to a manufacturer and plead for some new feature. You can just do it. Yeah, and
it's completely true. And one of the things you might have seen if you looked at my LinkedIn is I also moonlight working alongside a battery manufacturer in China. And so some of those features I can get developed from the start. So if there's something that a customer wants in a battery, from that production level up, I can achieve that, which is what makes the whole product a bit more developed.
Yeah, well, Australia's always kind of, I wouldn't say the cutting edge, but the challenging edge of standards. And so often we're the odd one out from the rest of the world when everyone's doing single pole isolation on their batteries and we go, no, double pole. And then they go, what? Why do you need that? Well, we do. It's in our standards. So, I can see why that moonlighting can come in really handy. Hey, just a bit of a heads up too for the audience. I don't know if for the technical people out there, particularly in manufacture of batteries, you may be familiar with the Battery Energy Best Practice Guide that's required to be compliant to for listing with the CEC. I'm on the Standards Committee and the rep for Smart Energy Council, and we're currently writing a successor to that Best Practice Guide. It'll fall under Standards Australia as a technical standard. TS 5398, and the preliminary version's already been published just to give people a look. It's not enforceable, it's not a public comment draft, and we hope to have it finished this week. It's been a crazy time, but it will mean that there'll be quite a few challenges for modular assemblies, so so-called stackable batteries, I suspect. I can't say for sure, but there may be some challenges there. I guess as soon as that technical standard is published, you want to jump on and read it, because be sure that your products will be compliant, because it will become the replacement for the best practice guide. Yeah. And will that be legislated in the coming sort of 12 months, or is that? It'll be in the hands of the CEC when that will be adopted. There is kind of a couple of arguments about the timeline. So, for instance, ASNZS 5139, the battery standard,
Yep.
references the best practice guide. It doesn't reference anything else like a technical standard. It may mean that we have to amend 5139 to reference that technical standard before it can be applied. So I suspect you've got some time, but yeah, I don't want to make any predictions because it's out of my hands. And regulators can always overrule stuff. For instance, your state regulator might say, "Oh, bugger it, you still got to do this." A bit like, ERAC come out with rulings that, in New South Wales, any door or opening is a exit, doesn't matter how big it is, and you've got to be 600 mils away from it. The rest of Australia doesn't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it can catch you out. So what else I got to ask you? Do you think being Australian-made is a big part of your brand?
I definitely think it is. I mean, where it began really was in drawing from AS 61439, so the manufacturer of low voltage switchboards. And so in most cases, they're all custom. And so we, predominantly build a lot of switchboards. And then it sort of grew from there. And I think being Australian made as much as possible is a great selling point. And I think customers love it. But ultimately, price point is where it seems to land. And so it's a big part of our brand, but also staying competitive is important as well.
Yeah, I like the fact that people can actually talk to the manufacturer in Australia. You're supporting local workers, local production. That's a really great thing. Hey, since you mentioned 61439, am I right in saying it comes in at 150 amps per phase and above?
I'm pretty sure it's 100.
Okay, right. So, yeah, it doesn't affect your residential kind of scale, but once you get into the C&I world, you need to be compliant to that standard.
Correct. And it's a very, very tough standard to comply to because you have to do type testing, which normally involves destroying a switchboard. And our type test certificate is for 100 Ka for 5 seconds. So it's a very high fault level.
It must be spectacular.
Yeah. It wasn't, the testing wasn't done by me. It was actually done by a different business, but we took over probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
So are you ever B2C? Do you deal directly with customers?
We do. Yep. So we deal directly with the end users, and we've also got some great distributors in Victoria, Queensland, ACT. But the end goal for path to market for us is really to the installer. So we can train them, give them confidence in the product, and let them do the selling part of it.
Look, I'll pretend to be a typical customer that I've had many of off-grid. They'll ring you up and go, "Hey, Glenn, I just need an off-grid system. How much are they?"
Yeah.
How do you go with that?
Look, it's often where the conversation starts. What I try and do is, if the customers come from an on-grid situation, I try and get hold of a past power bill to get some indication of what their daily consumption actually is. If they're off-grid already, again, try and get a gauge on what their consumption is at the moment. And if someone says, I'm going flat every day and I'm just getting by and I've got 1,500 amp hours of lead acid and they're 15 years old, then they've probably got 10 or 20 kilowatt hours of real capacity and about what size system they need. But the tricky ones are always the customer who goes, I want to be off-grid, and I want induction cooking, and I want a spa, and I want, heat pumps
EV
and
charging.
Air conditioning, EV charging. And it's becoming more and more common, and the size of the systems and the scale's growing.
Yep. I have my tire kicker solution is I just tell them how much per kilowatt hour it's going to cost them. I typically say $2,000 to $4,000 a kilowatt hour, and they go, "What's that?" And they say, "Well, tell me what your bill is." And then we roll out a big number, and they either go silent or they go, "Yeah, that's all right."
Yeah. Look, it's been some time since I've done sales directly. I'm more in the design and operational part of the business, but it is always challenging, and you've got to make sure that you meet the customer's expectation, which sometimes means at the start is making some sort of a judgment on what sort of a consumer you think they're going to be, whether they're going to actually look at the VRM app and they're actually going to live within their means. If they're going to have 3 or 4 crummy, cloudy days, are they going to survive it and use less power, or are they going to send themselves flat and need a generator? Because there's lots of off-grid customers I've got out there who happily have 50 kilowatt hours and never run a generator.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty notable. Wow. I always say, it's more solar is always the right answer. Go big.
Absolutely, particularly while there's STCs available for them.
I used to do inspections for the Australian Greenhouse Office on systems both on-grid and off-grid. And I remember going to this place in New South Wales and I said to the lady, how do you know when you have to start your generator? Because I saw it was a manual start generator. And she said, I lie in bed and when the light on the smoke alarm goes off, I know it's time to start the generator.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Basically, the system's just gone flat, and now she's going to go and resuscitate it in the middle of the night. Yeah.
That's probably a point to touch on there is that when you're saying your system goes flat every night, with people looking at batteries and the rebate scheme, nearly everything is going to be LFP. And the CEC doing the STCs based on usable capacity. But usable capacity is a little bit of a curveball because LFP's got that hip in it at about 40% depth of discharge, where it starts sort of exponentially wearing. So an ideal size system isn't to knock it down to 0 every day. An ideal size system is to try and keep some state of charge in it every day.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, you can game the system by saying our usable capacity is 100%, get the maximum STCs per kilowatt hour, but that battery's been thrashed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What was I going to ask you? So you've already gone down the path for Clean Energy Council listing on their approved product list, which is great because without it, it's pretty hard to get any assistance from any program. In terms of warranties, what's your warranty for your different types of products?
10 years for batteries.
10 years for batteries. Okay.
Yeah.
What about a BESS system that incorporates, an inverter and monitoring equipment?
So we go 5 years, and that's basically based on the Victron warranty because that's what theirs is, and same as DA is 5 years. We do as much as possible like to have people have them online so we can harvest the data, and if there's any precursors to cell failure or anything like that, we can keep an eye on it. Whereas if someone's completely offline, it is a little bit more difficult. Which is one of the reasons personally we moved away from cylindrical cells. It was because we were seeing premature failure of the batteries. And I think, if you've got a battery that's say 16S, 13P, it's very hard for the BMS to keep an eye on, 13 single cells that are all in parallel. Whereas if you've got a 16S 1P battery, the BMS is looking at that, particular cell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think remote monitoring is just non-negotiable for me. It's such a nightmare to have to kind of talk to someone over the phone when they don't know anything about the system. They just say, the lights aren't working or something, and you're trying to diagnose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you've got to have remote. And it's also, like you said, you can pick up where things are going wrong before it's serious. You might go, well, actually, your generator needs to come on sooner. It's you're going too deep every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So how would you characterise your customers? Are they C&I mostly, off-grid, residential, what?
It's an eclectic mix of everything. So some are end users, and I presume probably in our local region, I'd say we'll probably be more end users as the battery rebate scheme rolls out. And we'll probably only focus heavily on, New South Wales or the region around us. For C&I customers, it can be anywhere. We've sold products that have ended up in PNG, anywhere in Australia, the surrounding islands, and obviously they're C&I.
Yeah, I guess with a strong emphasis on Victron, you can source replacements just about anywhere in the world too.
Yeah, that's probably one of the nicest parts of their product, and I've seen it happen before. Is someone sails into the marina, and they've brought their boat from Vietnam or wherever they've come from, and they've got, if they do have a problem, we can throw the serial number into the computer here and bring up a warranty straight away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for those who are not familiar with Victron, they're over 40, maybe 50 years old now. Can't remember.
50. They just had I went to their 50th anniversary in Munich about a month or two ago.
They're also a family business. It's pretty amazing. The son's still running it, that the father started it.
Yeah, and they've got a fantastic story behind how it started, and it was to some extent necessity, but I don't know if they ever realised it would be this big, and it's amazing the scale they've gotten to.
Yeah, and they can evolve their products very quickly. So. Someone described, if you're into jigsaws, Victron's your game, because they've got every part that you could think of to plug into every part, whether it's an RV or a large C&I project.
Yeah, exactly.
I also like the way that they're very hands-on from a management point of view too. It's a very flat hierarchy. I was kind of doing some work to making some videos for them at one point, and I had some conversations with a support engineer to kind of clarify some things, and this engineer went silent on me for about a week, didn't respond to many emails, and I just kind of nudged the local distributor and I said, this guy, he's pretty slack, and what's his name? Oh, Matthias. Oh, he's the CEO. He's probably a bit busy.
He's the owner. Yeah.
So the CEO actually gets his hands dirty. He gets right in there and, knows the product, works with people who use it. Yeah, it's really impressive.
Yeah. It was the first time I'd met Matthias and his father, and it was really, really nice. It's nice that they're a family business.
Yeah. It is indeed. So kind of from a personal perspective, where do you see things heading in the next 5 to 10 years for off-grid energy and battery tech?
Look, I mean, there's a lot of talk about sodium, and we've built some prototype sodium batteries. But I still think LFP is going to be very strong, at least for the next few years. And that's one of the big underpinning parts of our products, is trying to stick to that 19-inch rack shape, so that in future, when the technology does change, the consumer's not wedded to the particular battery we installed at the time, and they can upgrade to whatever the new technology is.
So future-proof, yeah.
Yeah, but my view is LFP is still going to be, a big part, at least for the next, few years.
I remember when the first all-in-one system started coming out about 10 years ago. I had one here in the lab that had space for 4 battery modules, and they gave me 3. And then I said, about 6 months later, I said, I'd like to put a 4th one in there. And they said, oh, we don't make that anymore.
Yeah. That
was their great option.
Yeah. That's the risk, and that's the fear. And I look at even like your previous video with Mark, and the SIG Energy product, and how rapidly they've grown, what that looks like in 5 or 10 years' time.
Yeah, it's a hard one to predict, indeed. Yeah. So maybe just a kind of final question, really, because there's a lot of young engineers watch my channel, and they're often looking for career advice. They're often looking for jobs too. But do you have any advice to people wanting to get into the renewable energy industry?
I like the way I did it, which is I started as an electrician initially, and did a few years doing that before I moved into renewables, and I liked that it gave me a solid foundation. And I think for renewables, I think the big thing is you've got to be prepared to support it. It's not a job that turns off at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. If you install a system, or you build a system, or design a system for a customer, inevitably they end up with your mobile number, and if their power goes out on a Sunday, they're going to call you. And so that's probably the nicest part about our unique selling point is our post-sales support is very, very good, to the extent where I'll happily give people my mobile number. But it's a career, you know, that system's going to last 15, 20 years. So you've got to expect your phone to ring a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly your off-grid customers, because you're essentially their power supply company. It's not like, you know, if a grid-connected system fails, they've still got the grid.
Yeah, that's right. And when a grid system fails, because it's normally on such a large scale, everyone's kind of accepting of it, whereas with an off-grid system, when there's a failure, your phone rings immediately.
Yep. And so having that local support, a number that you can ring in Australia, that's a really big plus.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Alex, it's been great talking to you. Thanks very much for coming on Toolbox Tech Talk.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
All right. Well, you can get back to your Sunday.
Yeah, you too. Thanks again.
See ya. Ciao.
See ya. Bye.
Well, that was really interesting. I've never met Alex before, and he just reached out to me and told me a bit about his company, and I was very excited to hear that he's an Australian manufacturer of renewable energy solutions. So, and when I looked at their website and saw the range of products, it's just insane. I haven't shown you them all. There's even more. So check out in the description the link to his website, and I'm sure maybe he won't give you his mobile phone number straight off, but... he will have his sales team reach out to you. So anyway, next Sunday, I think I will have another guest, and it's always a bit of challenge to line people up on a Sunday to go live because people have family commitments, but I think I'll have another mystery guest. So otherwise, I'll see you all next Sunday, same time, same happy place. Anyway, I'm out. Check it.